I am a foodie. I love food. And food loves me, so we are in a healthy relationship, literally. I remember very fondly my days in university, because that was the genesis of my enterprise and my business ideas. Because for those who have been in public universities, when you are told to go to a hostel, you cannot cook. But for me, that wasn't an option. So I opted to live outside so that I can be cooking for myself. And my friends discovered just how good my food was. And they made it a routine that every evening they accidentally come to visit me. Yes, and I had to make enough for everybody. And that is when I realized, I can turn this into an enterprise. But in 2014, I wanted to look beyond what I do, like on the value chain of food. I wanted to know where this food is coming from. And I got an interest in agribusiness. And not literally doing agribusiness, but trying to figure out, are young people doing this thing? Because in 2014 there was this hype that young people are the hope for Africa's food security. So when we ventured into that research, we went to central Kenya, we went to western Kenya, we went to Nyanza, we went to eastern parts of Kenya, trying to find these young people who are actually doing agribusiness, and how are they doing it? Are they doing it sustainably? We found young people doing extraordinary stuff with agribusiness. I mean, there were those who are practicing hydroponics. How many understand what hydroponics is? Vermiculture, evergreen agriculture, integrating trees with plants, because that particular acacia tree, Phaidabia albida, had the potential of fixating nitrogen and thus increasing the yields. I mean, we met amazing young people. And through that research, it brought me to write a paper on youth in agribusiness, hope for Africa's food security. But I put a question mark to it. Are young people actually the hope for Africa's food security? 3 things stood out during that research. Number 1, for those who are passionate about that particular venture, which is agribusiness, did it so passionately and were able to come up with innovations that would increase their yields, increase their income, and make agribusiness actually really innovative. But 3 things really stood out that were barriers. And number 1 was the education system. It still is a problem to date. And I term education as a double-edged sword. Why? Because there is no way we can say that agriculture contributes to, is the highest contributor or is number 1 of the GDP of Kenya, and yet it is an option in high school. We actually met a young agribusiness young person, who was actually literally being laughed at by his friends because he decided that agribusiness is my career. And the other thing about education system, actually, removing that psyche from young people is when you misbehave in high school, you're given a djembe and a portion of land, go dig. So there is no way young people are going to be enthusiastic about agribusiness when that is the culture in high school and university. There is just no way. The second thing that stood out was parents. And this particularly was for the people living in the rural areas. They saw how their parents were really struggling with agriculture, and they were like, no, this is not my thing. I need to venture into something else. And they come to the urban areas in search of a job, and they don't get jobs. And the parents themselves also, for the sake of social value, they tell them, go be an engineer, be a doctor, but agribusiness is not an option. Agribusiness is not an option, which is a sad affair. But for those who are passionate about it, regardless of whatever it is that they were going through or any challenges, they decided to follow their passion. And through following their passion, they were able to come up with innovative ideas to improve the status of agribusiness in Kenya. And for those who are, we were finding young people who are saying, we don't have land, or the government this and that, or the government that. But for those who are passionate about it, they say land is not going to be a barrier. I'm going to do vertical agribusiness. And they were planting vertically. And they were making their money. And talking about the government also was not giving genuine support. Because you find they were giving loans randomly to young people. I mean, you guys just come, form a group of 10 people, and we give you guys money. You go start a business venture. Not sustainable. Because what do young people do after getting money? Party! Some of them squandered the money. But for those who are serious about it, then went through with it. What am I getting to? For you to actually get innovative in the area that you are interested about, it takes your passion. You have to be passionate about what you do. I am passionate about food. I mean, after the whole research, I was actually really psyched up to do agribusiness, but along there I was like, no, farming is actually not cool, it's hard. And it only takes those who are passionate about it to go through that process and be resilient with it. But my passion is in food. And because I'm passionate about food, and I wanted it to be an enterprise, I wanted to be on a very competitive edge. Because there's so many caterers around. But I wanted to be different. Because so that I do not find myself in that whole traffic jam of trying to compete with other people. I decided to think outside the box. I started, my own market research. And I was like, how can I be different? And I found a niche of single people who do not actually have time to go back home and cook for themselves. And I decided, you know what? This is my niche. And I found myself on a highway that has no cars. And that is a market that is upcoming. Also in the catering industry and in the food industry, there is this concept called dinner in the dark. How many have heard of it? How many have experienced it? Such innovation, such innovative ideas. Because who thought that a role can be reversed? Because during the dinner in the dark, it is actually the blind or the visually impaired waiter who serves you a 3-course meal all through without spilling. So in the dark room, the roles are reversed. You become dependent on the visually impaired guide because they understand the room better than you do. And all this realization, all this discovery just brought me to one major conclusion. If Africa is to get out of its food insecurity or is to get out of its situation that it is right now, we need to embrace the youth. Because the youth are actually occupying the 50%. It's actually 50% right now. And if these young people are not empowered, then we are headed to the rocks. We are doomed. Because in the Western countries, they invest heavily on young people and their innovative ideas. And in Kenya, it is a trend that is starting, a trend that is actually picking up, which is commendable, and we need to do it the more. Embrace young people. We need to not look at them as people who are all about partying and all that. We are innovative. We are full of ideas. We are the real thing. We are the next big thing for Africa. And I would appeal to the government and all the projects that they have. If they have money that they need to invest in a particular section of youth, only invest in those who are interested in those areas. If it is someone who is interested in agribusiness, invest in those ones. Because in 2014 they were like, everybody just come, let's do agribusiness, and that was not sustainable. From 2014 to now, looking back, we were actually trying to see how many are still in agribusiness. Not so many. Most of them fell out. Only those who are passionate about it are still there and have actually diversified. They have moved from where they were in 2014 to something better right now. And even us as young people, being armchair activists, sitting down complaining, oh, the government does not do this. Who is the government? Who is the government? You are the government. I mean, sitting down there complaining and whining that this is not there, that is not there, does not help. Because after you've come out of there, nothing has happened. And I went to a forum whereby the government was actually appealing. The persons in the government were appealing, come, tell us what do you need to enable the environment. So much as we are here complaining, we also need to take that appeal to the persons sitting in government and tell them this is what we want and this is how we want it done. And they are actually willing to listen. We are the next big thing. We are the next big thing. Because we are innovative, we are resilient, we have grit, greatness, which requires internal toughness. Don't you agree? Don't you agree, young people? And it's up to us to actually come together and make this country a better place. It's up to us. Let us get up from those armchair activism and let's get out there and show them what we've got. Let us show these people what we've got. And when an opportunity arises, grab it. Grab it as if that is the last opportunity you'll ever get of your lifetime. Because for me and my passion, I took myself to Blaze auditions and I was taken in because my idea was unique. But with or without Blaze, I was still going to go ahead with my idea and fulfill it. I quit my job after 6 months because that wasn't my forte. I just couldn't handle employment. And I didn't have money at that time. But I was like, I am going to do this, whether or not, as I'm not going to allow the challenges that I have presently to stop me from my dream. So don't let anything stop you. Do not have excuses for not doing what you want to do. Pursue it. Opportunities will find you in the process. And when you grab it, you fly with it. Thank you for listening.